Welcome to part 2. Role number 3 is the bench guard. Quite simply, a guard who comes off the bench. Now, based off the skill set of our first two players, here is what I want from the bench guard on the Miami Heat. He should be able to slash and get to the rim. He should be able to shoot threes at a very strong rate. And I would like to see him be able to pass the ball fairly well. With all this in mind, who's perfect to fill this currently vacated spot? As of right now, Miami has nobody on the roster who can possibly hope to fill this role. I believe the perfect player would be J.J. Redick, who has proven to be a good shooter, a decent slasher, and actually a pretty good passer as well. But chances are he's going to be a little too expensive right now. I believe the best second choice would be Jordan Farmar of the Lakers. Pretty good shooter, he can get to the rim thanks to his speed, not a bad passer, and he's an annoying defender. If all else fails, I guess the next best thing you could do is Shannon Brown. He's an okay three-point shooter, pretty good defender to boot, not a bad passer, he can get to the rim really well actually. One of those three would be a solid choice for the bench guard to complement the skills of the other two guards on this team. The fourth piece to this puzzle is your star swing or star wing. This is filled quite perfectly by LeBron James, who brings just about everything to the table. Let's run it down. We know the dude is nearly unstoppable getting to the rim, and his more than 10 free throws per game showcase that better than anything I could possibly say. He's an elite shooter, nearly 30 points per game, and better than 50% shooting from the field. His three-point shooting is hit and miss, but on the whole, he's pretty good. He takes nearly 400 threes per season these days, and he hits about 1 in 3. He's a solid free throw shooter, hitting more than 75% of his close to 800 free throws per season, so we'll definitely give him that. As far as perimeter players go, few rebound quite like LeBron. 7.3 rebounds per game last year, fourth among any small forwards. He's one of the elite passers in the league, certainly the best passer among any small forward in the league, with 8.6 assists per game. So certainly he deserves a lot of credit there. Finally, he's a great perimeter defender. He is fairly a lockdown defender, but he's also a good statistic defender with a block game and 1.6 steals per game. So we'll also give them a full point for this, meaning LeBron pretty well fills out every skill you could want from a star swing. Role number 5 is the bench swing or bench wing. Quite simply the guy who comes off the bench to replace the star swing when that player is just feeling a little gassed. This role is already filled by Mike Miller, who I think is absolutely perfect for this team. I loved this signing. As I said yesterday, I think he's a great complement to LeBron James, and he fills some minor weaknesses this team may have at the guard position. So what does he bring to the table? Well, he's a pretty good shooter. Last year, in fairly limited time, he averaged 11 points a game, which isn't that great, but the fact that he was able to shoot better than 50% from the field tells me he's quite efficient. So, just to be safe, since he's never scored a ton of points in his career, we'll give Miami half a point in this category. The deal maker to me is his three-point shooting. Last year he shot 48% from 3, and for his career he's a very reliable three-point shooter. He may be one of the best in the league, and to me his ability to shoot threes will make up for the possible weaknesses at the guard position this team has when it comes to long-range shooting. So definitely a full point there. Like Mario, he doesn't get to the free throw line all that often, only 85 times last year. But when he gets there, you can count on him to knock down more than 80% of them. So I think they have also found a nice free throw shooter in Mike Miller, so give him a point there. And then we have perimeter rebounding. Last year, even though he didn't play that much, he still pulled down 6.2 rebounds per game, which was 6th among small forwards. So, to me, that is certainly worth a lot of credit when it comes to rebounding from a perimeter player. Lastly, passing. He averaged about 4 assists per game last year in, again, limited minutes, third amongst any small forward. So, again, I have to give him a full point here just because he didn't play that much last year. So he brings quite a bit to the table, takes a little bit off, but I think he's the perfect complement to a star swing like LeBron. Role number 6 is the star big. Examples of this role: I don't know, Shaquille O'Neal, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Tim Duncan. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. The big that can just dominate and take over. This role is filled by Chris Bosh. He's not a dominant force like you might like for instance from Shaquille O'Neal or Wilt Chamberlain, but he's one of the elite players in the league, and you can certainly work with that. What does he bring to the table? Well, he's an elite low post scorer. He averages 8.4 free throws per game last year, which was good for 6th in the league, and we have to assume a lot of those free throws came from working around the rim in the post area. So I definitely consider him an elite low post scorer. Considering he's also capable of stepping out and hitting jumpers, I also have to give him credit as a extremely good shooter. 24 points last year, which was 9th in the league, and his 51.8 shooting percentage from the field was 7th among power forwards. So I gotta give him a lot of credit there. Then we have free throw shooting. He gets to the free throw line a lot, as I previously said, and he knocks down around 80% of his free throws these days, which is, 12th among power forwards, which isn't spectacular, but it's more than good enough. So that's worth a point in my book. We have low post rebounding. He's not one of the best rebounders in the league, but he's very close. 11 rebounds per game last year was very nearly top 5 in the league. So to me, he deserves a full point for his low post rebounding abilities. Finally, we get to low post passing. 2.5 assists per game last year. That's pretty good. It's not great, but it works. I'm going to say half a point. He's not the passer of a Pau Gasol or even a Kevin Garnett, or certainly not Kevin Love, but he gets the job done. So I'm going to give him half credit there. Role number 7, we got the other big. In this situation, he's going to be the center, but he just needs to be able to play off our star big and not get in the way of everybody else. Now, who is this other big going to be? Well, it's going to be a little tough to find him just because centers in this league are pretty rare, but to me, he needs to be able to do one thing: defend in the low post. This is something Chris Bosh just simply isn't very good at, and if this team does not find a good low post defender, they're going to run into a lot of problems. So looking through the list of available centers in this league, it's pretty thin, but I think the best thing Miami can do is re-sign Joel Anthony, who can't do very much well, but if there's one thing he can do, he is a pretty good defender. So to me, this role should be filled by Joel Anthony, just for defensive purposes. And next to a guy like Chris Bosh, that's really all you need. Role number 8, the final piece to the puzzle in terms of players, is the bench big. Quite simply, a big who can come off the bench and contribute. Now this is going to be tricky. This bench big ideally would be a center, but a power forward would work. What do you want from him? He should be able to score in the low post, because this team currently only has one. He should be able to rebound effectively, because right now this team only has one low post rebounder. And it would be great if he was able to pass well, but that's not required, so I can take or leave that. I think re-signing a guy like Udonis Haslem would work pretty well. Not ideal, but pretty well. Although it's looking like Udonis Haslem is looking for more money than the Miami Heat have to offer, so that may not be able to play out. I have the feeling that the Miami Heat are hoping to find this guy in-house with one of their draft picks, Dexter Pittman. The guy is certainly big, and maybe he can fill the role that Miami needs. I wouldn't count on it, but at the same time, there may not be any other choices available to this Heat team. They may need Dexter Pittman to fill this hole. Beyond that, the choices are pretty thin. Do you go with Ben Wallace, Johan Petro, Zaza Pachulia, Fabricio Oberto, Rasho Nestorovic? It's a pretty thin list of centers you can pick from, but you got to make that choice and hope it works out. To me, if I absolutely had to go with one of these options, I would say either Zaza or Ben Wallace. So let's quickly recap the skill sets that this Heat team definitely has. They have one low post scorer. I think they need one more. They have 2 slashers. That's fine. They have 3.5 shooters. Great. They have 3 3-point shooters. I want one more. They have 5 free throw shooters. That's great. They have 3 perimeter rebounders. That's awesome. They have 1 low post rebounder. I want at least one more. They have 3 passers. More than enough. They have 1/2 low post passer point. I think that should be fine. They have 2.5 good perimeter defenders. That should be great. And they don't have any low post defenders, a huge hole that definitely needs to be fixed. If they fill these holes, I say they win it all this year.